Melanated RN, the Nurse Nomad, back at you with another video. And I'm super excited about this one because I feel like it is just so appropriate for the stage that I am in my life. And this video is going to be about how to become a travel nurse. And the reason why I'm super excited and I say it's so fitting is because it has literally been 1 year since I've been a travel nurse, and I'm just super excited to just share the wealth with you guys because I have had such an amazing year. I've worked in 3 different cities, 3 different hospitals. My first city was in Tampa, Florida. My second city was Houston, Texas. And in Houston, Texas, I actually worked in the medical center. And the medical center there is the largest medical center in the whole entire world, which I'm actually proud and grateful that I could even say that I worked there. And now I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So as you can see, I've been migrating down like the South area, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm ready to move on to the West Coast, but I'm just so grateful that I even had the opportunity to just travel so early on in my career, and I don't know, I kind of just don't ever want to stop. So I'm going to share with you guys how to become a travel nurse. Alright, so the first thing that you want to do is build up your experience. You want to make sure that you get as much experience as possible in your specialty. So the reason why I say that is because a lot of agencies do something called a skills checklist. My agency personally does a skill checklist, and you have to scale yourself on a scale of 0 to 5, stating how competent you feel with working with a certain type of patient, working with certain medications, or doing certain skills. So on a scale of 0, the scale 0 would be you have never worked with that patient. You probably learned it in school, but you never did that task, never worked with that patient, or never experienced working with that medication. On a 5 would be like, oh, I'm super competent. I do it all the time. I can do it with my eyes closed. Not literally, but you know what I mean. So they'll do a skills checklist, and depending on how you scale yourself on a skills checklist will determine if you are ready to become a travel nurse. And it will kind of guide your recruiter on whether or not a hospital would even consider hiring you depending on your level of experience. So that's why it's really important that you gain as much experience as you can. And the way that you can do that is if, like, you know, just trying to put your hands and stick your nose in wherever you can. If you haven't done a certain task, hey, ask your charge nurse if you could take on a patient that, I don't know, has a CBI, a continuous bladder irrigation, if you've never worked with it, just so that you can say that you've done it and that you can just really feel comfortable doing it. Because when you go to other hospitals, you don't know what's going to be thrown at you, and the hospital is going to expect that you know how to do various tasks, various skills. So you just want to make sure that you're competent in whatever area that you could possibly be thrown into within your specialty. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 would be to research agencies. It's kind of hard to actually do the research that I'm talking about, because when I say research, it's just kind of like figuring out if they're a good agency or not. And the best way to figure out if it's a really good agency or not is just to simply ask other travel nurses, hey, like, you work with this agency, how do you like working with them? But obviously not everybody knows a travel nurse, so that's not, that's not going to be easily accessible to everyone. But what I can say is there are a lot of agencies out there that you can Google, and you can simply call them, find a recruiter, and ask them any questions that you may have and see which agencies have the best perks that you feel are important to you. So I currently work with AMN Healthcare, but there are other agencies such as like Emerald Healthcare, Aya Healthcare, Premier, Onward Healthcare. I don't know, those are a lot of agencies that I've heard of. I only worked with AMN Healthcare my full year of being a travel nurse, but those are agencies that I have heard of from other travel nurse friends and people that I have met along the way in my travel nurse career. So definitely try to do some research. But what I will say is that you can get in contact with 4 different I would say maybe 3 to 4 different agencies, and set yourself up with a recruiter, right? And then see if they have a job available in the city and state that you are projecting to go to. And I feel like that's a good start, because not a lot of agencies work in every single state, or have assignments, I should say. Not every agency has assignments in every single state. So you want to see if you can find an agency that has an assignment for you. And then also, usually when you work with a recruiter, before you even apply and do all the technical stuff, they will tell you, okay, well, Houston, Texas is hiring, or they have a lot of assignments out there, and they'll have a list of hospitals, and it will tell you how much they're paying per week. Like, it'll say, okay, Houston, Texas, this assignment is offering $17.50 per week. And you could kind of like gauge yourself from there. And usually the pay is what drives a travel nurse to, want to pick up an assignment. So between 4 different recruiters, you can find out 1, 2, 3, 4 different hospitals, and you can see which agency is offering more money. Whoever's offering more money, you can just go ahead and say, okay, I think I'd rather work with this agency, they're offering more. Or you can use that as a negotiation piece. And you can say, well, I was looking into this agency and they had an assignment that was offering, something that was $100 more. And you can use that to negotiate, because I'm pretty sure they will find a way to make you that one extra $100 a week. So that is very important, because you don't want to sell yourself short. You want to make sure that when you're going on these travel assignments, you're making the most money that you can. So that's one thing. Shop around. Second step is, after you have decided what agency you're going to be working with, go ahead and apply. When you apply, you're going to submit your resume, do the agency application, and all of that fun stuff. When you have selected the assignment that they have kind of offered you, your recruiter will then go ahead and submit your application to the hospital. When they submit your application to the hospital will give you a call. It will usually be like the manager or the director or the chief of nursing staff that will call you to do an interview. When they call you in to do an interview, they'll ask you, like, tell me about yourself. You'll tell about yourself. At that time, you'll probably just tell them your name, where you're from, a lot of, about your clinical background. And you should have fun with your interview, have a lot of personality. And I feel like a lot of managers enjoy that, because you have to remember this is not a face-to-face, so you really have to kind of sell yourself over the phone. But yeah, they'll ask you about your clinical background, and then they'll probably ask you like typical interview questions, such as like, oh, let's say that you're in a situation and you're in a conflict with another nurse or another nurse tech. They're not doing what you've delegated them to do. Then you just have to like come up with a response and how you would resolve that issue. Things like that. But what makes and I feel like in any interview you should do this, you should always come prepared with questions that you would ask the interviewer. But especially with travel nursing, you want to make sure that you have a list of questions for these directors, because you want to make sure that you are going into an environment that is healthy to work in. You have to remember that these hospitals are hiring travel nurses more than likely because they are short-staffed. So some questions that you might want to ask them is, what's your nurse to patient ratio? Do you guys have a charge nurse at all times? Things like that. Because I've had an interview where I asked them, I was like, do you guys have charge nurses at night? And they're like, no, sometimes. And if you don't have like a charge nurse, someone that you can use as a resource to help you, that can be really concerning. So there's a whole list of questions that you should kind of like go through with the interviewer, just to make sure that this hospital's perfectly fitting for you. So after you do that, after you do your interview, you're gonna hang up, whatever, call your recruiter right away, let them know that you've done the interview. After you've done the interview, if they decide that they want to hire you, they will let your recruiter know, and from there your recruiter will negotiate a weekly salary for you. So you don't do any negotiating with the interviewer. Your recruiter is the one that does all of that. If they come back with a weekly, if they say that it's going to be like 16 a week and you're like, no, I don't want to, like, I want to, like, I don't even know what I'm saying. If they say that it's $1,600 a week and you're like, can we ask for like $1,800? You let your recruiter know, you let your recruiter know, give them a rationale as to why, and your recruiter will ask. And I'm pretty sure they'll increase it, whatever. But we can have a whole other conversation on negotiating and all of that. But that is typically how it works. After all that is done and you accept the offer and you sign your contract, you'll go ahead and submit all your vaccines, and you'll do a background check and a drug test and all this other stuff. After that, the hospital is going to go ahead and assign you to some exams. Since I'm cardiac step down, they always assign me to an EKG exam. And usually with the EKG exam, I have 2 attempts and I have to get at least a 90%. The second one is usually a pharmacology exam, and that's just like medical math. And then there's always like a regular, I guess, like medical exam or something like that. And it's just like taking the NCLEX, except there's no select that all apply. So yes, definitely make sure that you pass on the first try, or at least the second try, because I'm telling you, if you fail, the hospital will cancel your contract and you will not work. They will not hire you. So just make sure that you brush up on that, because yeah, it's pretty serious. So you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you have any video suggestions, also comment below. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I am so excited to be back. You guys have no idea. But you guys, I'm so awkward. I don't know what else to say, so bye.